Hello, everyone. Today is Friday, May 30th, 2025. Your update for Monday the 2nd. All right, let's go. Well, no new setups again tonight. This is not a mistake. There are no stocks in the Landry list tonight. Now, I will show you my momentum list real quick. And by the way, years ago, I used to put stocks that were trending in here. Now it's just stocks that are set up, or at least somewhat set up, or could set up very, very, very soon, like a shallow pullback, and we're looking for a deeper pullback. But anyway, okay, data portfolio. We'll take a look at that in just 1 second. I do want to show you this. In fact, let's look at the portfolio real quick. A little bit of a bounce in KJC, kind of hanging in there. Not KGC, not too far from all-time highs, and TFPM is doing okay. It's right at this prior little resistance in here, and not too far away from all-time highs, but I sure would like to see it at both of those obvious. Now, let's take a look at the momentum list real quick. I just want to show you something that I do have plenty of stocks in here that are banging out some new highs, and this one could set up fairly soon. That one notwithstanding. Here we go. My sort was off, but as you can see, these plenty of stocks in here banging out new highs. So there are plenty of stocks that are trending, and we could. And by the way, these SPOCs will waking up. We talked about this. I brought this earlier, I should say, in the Facebook group, and there's a few of them in the IPOs that are waking up too. So we're keeping an eye on that. We're keeping an eye on everything right now. But again, lots and lots of stocks at or near new highs as far as momentum is concerned in the momentum list. Now, overall, we have some issues, and we'll talk about that. I guess we'll talk about that now. Let's take a look at the overall market and drill down a little bit. The bottom line is overhead supply is still the problem. That's kind of the word of the day. Let's take a look at the S&P 500. Not a bad day after all was said and done, I suppose. Any day you close slightly in the positive, or I guess slightly negative after a negative day, is a good thing. Still below shorter-term resistance, and obviously still below longer-term overhead supply. NASDAQ looks a little worse as far as the overhead supply is concerned, but it did come well off its worst levels in the day, so that's certainly, obviously a good thing. Nice little reversal there, but I'd feel a lot better once we got past recent resistance and not so recent resistance, obviously, again, the overhead supply. Let's take a look at the Russell 2000 coming in a little bit, still below short-term and not so short-term overhead supply. Let's take a look at cyber computing. You can see bouncing back in here, not too far from these prior highs. Again, the V-shaped recovery that I've been talking about quite a bit is still happening there. And again, by the time the market's all the way back to the old highs, it's already overbought. Now, as I've been saying quite a bit, defense didn't seem to care, but you do have to pay attention to classical technical analysis like this and wait for follow-through, and that's exactly what's happening in defense. Not much of a pullback yet. We could see some setups there fairly soon. Reoccurring theme, though, a lot of areas bumping up against their old all-time overhead resistance, I should say, not all-time highs, but overhead resistance is in between them and their all-time highs, is what I'm trying to say. Bags, for instance, you can see stalled out right at that overhead supply. So you need to pay attention to these things. Tobacco made it to brand new highs. We'll see if something sets up here. Not a whole lot to get excited about, just with that one area banging out new highs. Cloud computing, again, below, you guessed it, overhead supply. Transport, same sort of action happened there too. Lots of trading above where we are. It's just human nature. People might be looking to get out at break even at those levels. Now, marijuana had been bottoming out, but you can see it sold off fairly hard today. So did CGC, Canopy Growth, that was in the Landry list. Fortunately, no trigger or possible trigger on that one. Anyway, as you go through the sector, semiconductor, same sort of action happening there too, stalling out at resistance. They sold off fairly hard today, off their worst levels, but still a fairly ugly sell-off nonetheless. Gold, the commodity, down a little, kind of chopping around here in a pullback. Still looks okay longer term. UWB, though, I sure like to see some new highs sooner rather than later. Gold stocks are looking a little bit better right at this shorter-term resistance and not too far from all-time highs, so that's certainly, obviously, a good thing. Home builders, kind of Flatsville in here. Longer term looks like they still remain in trouble. Financials made it back to their old highs, or near their old highs, I should say, but didn't quite get to brand new highs. That's what I'm trying to say. Anyway, nice rally there today, but still has its work cut out for it. Still has some supply to deal with. Anyway, I think that's about it for now. Let's just see if some of these areas can improve. And obviously, we'll take things on a setup by setup basis. Some of that momentum starts to set up as pullbacks, and we'll start to see some setups fairly soon. For now, it's okay to sit on your hands and let things shake out. Everybody have a fantastic weekend. If you have any questions, feel free to hit me up at daviddavelandry.com. We'll be checking in on Facebook too, so you can always contact me there. If not, everybody have a great weekend, and we'll talk again on Monday. Thank you so much.